Okay, Mona was a human rights lawyer trying to make the world a better place, fighting for what she thought was right. That is, until a major fuck-up happened. She then moved to Bali and learned that life will not always show up in the way you planned it, and that is completely okay. Mona.
That is okay.
I can try it. I think push a button. Right. Right. Let's see. I'm gonna
No one's given me instructions. Fuck up number 1. That is not mine.
try pushing that one and see if what you Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. There you go. Look at that. Am I taking this out of the way?
I just want to move it forward so it's not so close to this speaker.
You don't need this.
Screen.
Okay, first, can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, so first, I'm super excited to be here because fuck is one of my favorite words, and I am encouraged to swear here. My parents hate it when I say fuck, so I'm going to say it a lot. Fuck, fuck, fuck. All right, yeah, and I fucked up big time, so I get to say it loudly. And I'm going to send this video to you, Mom and Dad. I love you. All right. Okay, so my fuck up is not a traditional fuck up in the fuck up sense, and I'll get to that point. So I'm going to tell you what my project was first. My project was me before Mona. I was a human rights lawyer. I was a civil rights lawyer. I thought that I could make a dent in the world and create change by going to law school and doing human rights work. And, you know, here's some pictures of me when I was working at the UN. I went to Sarajevo, worked with human trafficking victims, did all this work that to me was very noble and great, and, you know, you had a degree and you fit in the box and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know at the time that it was crushing my soul to be a lawyer, even doing this work that was actually really meaningful for me. I just realized your kids are here. I'm sorry about the sorry.
Oh, yeah, can you stop?
Okay. Sorry. Okay.
You too, Igor. Knock it off.
I was like, oh, there's people. Okay, kids here. So my fuck up was not a traditional fuck up because getting sick is not a fuck up. We don't do that to ourselves. But my fuck up came in the form of a disease called Lyme disease, which you get from a fucking tick, which is a bug. And I was basically in bed or in a wheelchair for in and out of 8 years. It's a long fucking time. I know, don't feel sorry for me. Just, yeah, I know. So here's me. I got a little catheter inserted into my arm so I could infuse IV drugs at my parents' house. I had to live with my parents for a year. Probably why I say fuck so much. This was my life. So this was my life. It was having an oxygen tube inserted in my nose in my late 20s or early 30s. I don't remember. It was a big blur. Putting pill boxes, syringes. My friends made me this awesome gold cape, so I felt like a superhuman when I was infusing my IV drugs. Moved in with my parents. They spoon-fed me for some time. Called the bathroom. Then I was getting better. But, you know, it was a giant fucking what you would think is a disaster, right? And so how do you move through this? So I'm going to just fast forward a little bit to Bali, and then we'll get to sort of the lessons. So after I did heal myself of Lyme disease and get better and all this stuff, and I had quit my law career as a result. I did not want to stop being a lawyer. I still thought, oh, this is the way I'm going to help people. But I couldn't do it after that. So I moved to Bali 3 years ago. Now, the reason I moved to Bali was because of this right here, my gut. This is not my gut. This is my gut, my heart, and my gut. Usually I did everything with my brain as a lawyer, as a Westerner, growing up in American culture with 2 parents born in India. So I came here based on something that my heart and my gut told me, and this will kind of get into the lessons later, but then I, of course, joined the amazing, burgeoning expat community of Whoboot. This is one of the first Skillshares, I think, Steve, when I got here 3 years ago, and I was like, what am I going to do to make a difference in the world? How am I going to make money? I was consulting for a nonprofit, but I just sort of showed up here, and I ended up in an e-commerce course with one of our members, Jeremy, who's not here at the moment. and launched a product on Amazon, launched an e-commerce company, thinking it would be a side deal, a little side business, so that I could continue my passion of human rights, environmental work. And I ended up launching this business, and lo and behold, it was super successful. And I'm like, what? And so I became a CEO of a company. I went back to the US, I incorporated, I hired people, I was running everything from finance to this to that, and I'm like, you know, basically learning to be an entrepreneur. Came and met several of the people here and sort of went on the entrepreneur circuit speaking about my transition and my life transition. But the reason I got here was from following my gut, was from going through all this crazy shit. But as a result, I was able to finally be financially independent, to pay off 8 years of medical debt, which if you're American, you know is a lot of fucking money. I get to say that, okay? And so I also got to create the physical, emotional, spiritually, yes, I said that word, and financial space to now create time and money for what I am interested in, my passion projects. And I can do it without working 13 hours a day. And well, I'll get to this point in a second, but it basically, now I can work wherever my laptop is. I had this location-independent lifestyle, and I take care of me, and now I can actually take care of the world in another way that looks different than how the law provided. So what are my takeaways? My takeaways are, number one, listen to your heart, this is your heart, and your gut, not just your brain, especially if you're Western trained and you are in that corporate world. You are taught to learn and do and make decisions from here only. And some of the best decisions I made were also with my heart and were also with my gut. Coming to Bali, I had never been here before. I didn't know anyone, and I moved here based on this sort of heart thing, and then I researched it. But then I landed in this place where I basically created a new career as an entrepreneur to create a whole new life for me. My dream life was maybe working 13 hours a day with a white picket fence. I'm guessing I might be miserable. Instead, I live in Bali and have the amazing community here, and my life is totally different than I ever expected that it would be. You know, we've all seen this, relax, nothing is under control. So when your life experience, whether it is business, it is your personal life, your health, which is your, you know, utmost importance, and shit hits the fan and life just fucking vomits on you and you can't imagine it gets any worse, and it will suck, yeah. But there is, and Gary, can you give me my phone because I fucked up and my quote's on there. So there is something that I really found coming out of struggle and arriving to this place where I have a new life. And no matter what it is, this is stolen from a book called The Obstacle is the Way. Can you see there is opportunity in every disaster and transform that negative situation into an education, skill set, or even a fortune? And through running my business, I have been able to extract those fortunes and put them into life, and put them into relationships, and put them into business. Last lesson, A to B. If you want to get to B, your direct path may not be the most awesome path. Yes, it would be great if it all worked out perfectly. But guess what? This path, although it's fucking intense, is also laden with so many gifts. And if you allow yourself to reap the benefits of those gifts, and your life may not look like anyone else's, there's actually so much beauty. There is so much gold in there, and you may have something to share with the world that others don't. And you may not get to B, you may get to C, which is where I got. Because as I said, B was probably a white picket fence and working 14 hours a day. That sounds awful. Sorry if any of you do that, it's not awful. And then my favorite quote to end it: we must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. So if it doesn't show up how you want it, your business doesn't show up. I mean, I had nobody in their right mind would imagine I would end up doing what I'm doing, but it is creating a path for me to do everything that I want and take care of myself and be happy. So allow your life to show up how it shows up and kind of go with the flow. You know, you can resist it, but don't fucking resist it too much because it's just going to push you back down. And this happened to me over and over again for 8 years until I learned to let go a little bit. So life can show up pretty magically for you if you allow it, even through some crazy fuck-ups.
What am I standing near? It's, I have never heard Mona swear that much, ever. Well, I guess nobody has. To swear, have you? Okay. Total potty mouth. Does anybody have any questions for Mona?
So what's your business actually?
So my business is an e-commerce business with a product on Amazon, and then I sort of launched like this health and wellness goods with that as my main business. That's it. And then I've been using that to now create other projects, which is also writing a book eventually, creating another sort of speakers series, talks, working on an environmental project in Bali. I hope to work on some projects in India, NGOs, but like this is all possible by virtue of that. It allows me the time and then the money and the space to do that. Yeah.
Anybody? Anybody? I have a question. Can I ask a question? Yeah. I won't swear. In the last 3 years, so this has been a big journey for you, I know, coming to Bali and all the things that have happened to you here. Who's the most inspiring person that you've met?
Bali?
Is that a leading question?
I know. I'm like, Steve Monroe is the most.
Honest to God, see, going back to the first talk, you know what Patricia was saying about not valuing yourself? Never even occurred to me. Really, not me, of course, but anybody that just says knock your socks off, that you're like, you know, if that wanker can do it, I can too.
Someone who has been inspiring in the business sense has been Jeremy Roger, who is not here and who was my teacher. Actually, Jamie and Lucas, who are also former Whoboot members, they are really good friends who are entrepreneurs and are also just rocking it on their e-commerce business, and they are doing it with heart, and they are doing it with business mind, and they use all this head, heart, and mind, and they've been really great friends, and they actually helped me launch my business. So yeah, they have been pretty inspirational.
Last chance, last chance. At the back, yell it out.
I will yell it out. So, Mona, you seem like a force of nature. What 3 words would you use to describe yourself when you were going through the hospital? And what 3 words would you use to describe yourself right now?
Oh, good question. Okay.
Nice one, Oprah.
So thank you, Oprah. Yeah, let's hang out later. I like you. When I was going through all the hospital shit and like just it was insane. Insanity to the nth degree. I would say resilient. I had to be, otherwise I wouldn't be here. I would have been gone. Resilient. Unreasonably persistent, which probably most doctors would have told you I drove them insane, fucking insane. Resilient, unreasonably persistent. What else was I then? I then later became, I would just say a warrior, because I was, right? I had to be. And I would probably use similar words now in terms of resilient, because the resilience is still there and has to be there in place in order to get here. I would say now the difference is I am much more relaxed. I'm not relaxed, obviously that's very clear, but you know, like relaxed as in I have surrendered a lot. Not, you know, like just like a lot. It's so in that respect, surrendered, allowing life to show up as it is and like meeting and dancing with it instead of trying to fight it because it doesn't work. And then lighter, like everything's a bit lighter. It was so heavy before, and there's a part of me that might have been committed to the suffering because that was my story, and I had to be that person and that poster child for that fucking disease, and then I was like, stop. Nobody asked me any more questions about Lyme disease. So yeah, I would say lighter, just like lighter, like life is meant to be light and playful, and that has brought some pep back into my step.
Yeah.
I hope that helps.